Hi Vernon, how you doing? It's Nancy here. Here's your wreath. I just wanted to talk to you about some of the symbolism in it. The copper oak leaves and the crystal acorns. I don't know if I get kind of close, if you can see some of the acorns. And then so I also have some other little laser type crystals right here in the front, and there's a few little shells, and there are some feathers too. So first off, I thought what I would talk to you about is the balance that I tried to do with the elements that we talked about. And so the elements that I used that symbolize the element of fire is the copper. Metal is created using fire, and it's an element that is thought of traditionally in the direction of east. And there's also the element of water, symbolized by some very small little tiny shells in the front, and there's a few other teeny ones right here on the sides. I don't know if you can see it on that one, but they're a little cone or tarantella shells. And so the element of water is represented by the shells. The other element that was represented is the element of earth, and earth is represented by the crystals of the acorns, and then also these three little points in the front. And then the last element of air is represented by the feathers. And there's two different types of feathers that I used. I used hawk energy, and in the very front you can see their little tiny pointed crystals, pointed feathers, and those are from the hawk's head. And this represents, hawk represents spirit and the higher self, and hawk traditionally is also messages from spirit. So there's the two different types of hawk feathers. There's these that were taken from hawk's top of the head, and then there's also some side ones, some little side feathers that were taken from the hawk's tail. So I tried to do a balance of above energy, spiritual energy from above, and then also the groundingness of the energy of the earth and being grounded, which is quite important, I would believe, when wearing energy to a crown that would sit on the head and actually help to open up the 7th chakra. And so the other type of feather that was used is these little darker ones. These are those are turkey feathers, and turkey also represents the grounding feminine earth mother energy too. So they kind of balance each other. Hawk flies high, looks from the heavens in a way that is kind of looking at it from the higher perspective, and then the turkey is more grounded, not a predator but was more grounded and of the earth. Although turkeys can fly, but they're more of a grub and passive eater as opposed to the hawk energy. So it's very good when doing energy tools to try and do a balance of these two energies, or different energies that. And then if you can see, one of the other things that I use is these little tiny copper moons, and those are right in the front, kind of balancing out these three longer, thin, needle-like crystals. This is kind of the point that helps to open up the third eye, and also the hypothalamus, which is more a little bit at the top. The point is at the top of the head too. And so these are all bringing, at the points of the crystals, to bring energy in and help to open up the sixth chakra. When the sixth chakra can fully open, sixth chakra being also another word for third eye, the seventh chakra can open up also. Let's see, what else do I have here? As the seventh chakra opens, we tend to become more aligned with our higher purpose, all that is, and sacred oneness of all. And in doing so, when that happens, when that fully opens, it opens us up to infinite possibilities. And it also fully opens up the heart too. And I think I mentioned to you that copper is a representative of the heart also. So I like that these all have a balance in it, and then they work together in those energies. The other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the energy of the oak. The oak is also representative of the balance of heaven and earth also, and an oak tree which is solid and strong, and has the roots going into earth, and it makes it grounded, and then the branches and also the leaves and the acorns also, which is the fruit and the abundance of getting the nourishment from the grounding, is what is kind of like the symbolic representation of all of the nourishment and nutrients being able to give forth. And the acorn also symbolizes that new growth from that process, and then the continued seeds of enlightenment being put forth. There's 7 of these little acorns, little crystal acorns, and they're made from clay and crystal. And it's like 1 in the front and 2 on the side, and then 3 along the back. And so there's 7 altogether, and the number 7 has different meanings. There's 7 chakras in the human body, 7 main chakras, and then there's also in Native American tradition, there's the 7 directions. The 7 directions include the 4 cardinal directions, and then they also include above and below, and then creator, which is represented in the heart also. And let's see, what else do I have here? I kind of mentioned the little moons, but I didn't explain what they were in reference to. Yeah, one of the things was that when I was working through the process of making your wreath, I was very in tune and took note of what the moon phases were, more so than I usually do when making other tools. And so the moon has a rhythm and a time frequency, and when I first started the actual creating of your wreath, it was at the very beginning, which is the new moon, which is the best time for starting new projects. And then the wreath was just completed the other day, right before the full moon, and so I thought that was really good, and that these little copper moons, the two phases, which shows the new and the waning and the waxing moon. And so I think that's about it. The only thing I haven't talked about is these little tiny shells that have come to a point. There's 3 of them also, and just as there's 3 of the main crystals in the front, the number 3 is symbolically used to represent the trinity of mind, body, spirit, the man, woman, child, and also just the traditional religious symbols of that too, and so the number 3 is just used symbolically in those ways. These little spiral shells are used for energy healing. They actually help to create purity and opening, and they come to a slight point. So they also remind me of a unicorn shell. So there's that piece of the purity and spiritual purity. So I hope you enjoyed your little tutorial, and I hope you'll enjoy your wreath. I certainly had a lot of fun making it, and I also want to show you the inside of it. Is it's pretty sturdy. It's made, the inside is a strong copper, and as we talked about with copper too, it's a natural conductor of energy. So I think that when you're wearing it, it will, you'll definitely feel that. I know I do it just taking it off. After wearing it for a short time, I can feel the difference in vibration. So there's a very strong copper tubing underneath, but for comfort, I don't know if you can see it, it's lined with recycled leather. And so it also has been treated with a sealant, so it will stay coppery colored. Depending on where, it may need a little varnish, and I just used my fingers basically to apply the varnish so that the feathers wouldn't get. So that's something that you could always do after a couple years or so, or depending on how much wear. And yes, that's about it. And so I will be shipping it to you as soon as possible. We've got a holiday on Monday, so I plan to ship it out on Tuesday. And I appreciate your order, and have a great day. Enjoy.